What's up, y'all? This is DJ Kenny Parker, DJ and producer for Boogie Down Productions / KRS-One, and today I'm back with another video. Today's video is part of my ongoing series called Epic Fails, When Hip Hop Goes Wrong. And today's subject revolves around the Wu-Tang Clan. Now, I met my first member of the Wu-Tang Clan sometime around 1991. BDP had a show with an artist that was called The Genius. Later on, we would come to know him as The Jizza. Super cool guy. I've seen him several times. Always love. Shout out to The Jizza, my dude. Fast forward to 1993, and the Wu-Tang Clan had released two singles, Protect Your Neck and METHOD Man. KRS-One, who is my brother for those that don't know, and I'm going to call him Chris for this video, KRS-One and I were coming out of a studio called Battery Studios in New York City. I do believe it was on 25th Street at the time. As Chris and I was leaving the studio, we bumped into an artist coming in. He said, "Hey, what's up, man? My name is the RZA, and I'm from the Wu-Tang Clan." He reached into his bag and pulled out a CD. He handed it to KRS-One and said, "Hey, man, this is the new Wu-Tang Clan album. Check it out." Of course, we now know the album was Enter the 36 Chambers. By the way, I tried to get that album from Chris, and he wouldn't give it up. During the next couple of years, BDP and Wu-Tang did a few shows together. We did a show in New York City on New Year's of 1994 that was dope. We did a couple of shows with Method Man. We did a show with the Jizza. We did a few more shows with the Wu. Always a good time. A few years back, I actually used to live around the corner from one of the Wu-Tang members called Master Killer. I used to see him a few times in the neighborhood, so shout out to the Master Killer. You know what's interesting? I once had a meeting at a studio with Raekwon the Chef to play him some music for a potential album he was working on. In the studio was Raekwon's brother. Believe it or not, Raekwon's brother has the exact same voice as Raekwon. I was bugging out because I'm looking like, yo, this is Raekwon's voice that we hear on all the records, but it's coming out of another guy's face. I was bugging out. Now, some people in my comment section said me and KRS-One sound exactly alike. I personally don't hear it. I've been speaking the same way my entire life. I don't think I sound like KRS-One at all. But apparently, according to you guys, me and him sounds exactly alike. So go figure. Anyway, shout out to Raekwon's brother. I can't remember his name right now, but he was a cool dude. I also one time went into a supermarket in my neighborhood and bumped into one of the founding members of the Wu-Tang Clan actually shopping in a supermarket, pushing a cart with groceries in it. Now, the sense of humor that I have, I was bugging out because I was like, Wu-Tang doesn't shop in the supermarket. If anything, Wu-Tang Clan only buys food from corner stores and local bodegas. There's no way Wu-Tang Clan is in your local supermarket. I was just laughing to myself. I'm like, yo, this dude has a real shopping cart with like milk and eggs and cheese. Like, come on, y'all. Some of y'all would be thinking the same thing. Like, what does Wu-Tang eat? I believe everything that Wu-Tang Clan eats, a 40 has to go with it. I mean, if I bumped into Ghostface in the supermarket, I need for him to be wearing those wallabies, man. As a matter of fact, if Ghostface isn't dressed like this, I would be disappointed. Here's a question for y'all. Do y'all really believe that Inspect the Deck uses coupons? All right, enough bugging. Let's get to the story. The year was 1994. Boogie Down Productions had a show with a group called the Fugees. This is around the time when the Fugees had the single Nappy Heads.
Yo, you're Nappy Head.
Yo, what's up?
What you got there?
The Fugees went on, they did a dope show, and then it was time for BDP. Now, a quick side note. As I mentioned in my book, My Brother's Name is Kenny. If you haven't picked up the book, the link is in the description below. As I mentioned in the book, KRS, Chris, and I have been arguing about hip hop since we were little kids. And we were always arguing over who was dope, who was whack, what songs are dope, and what songs are whack. Usually Chris and I are in agreement, but sometimes we totally don't see things eye to eye. During BDP shows in the 90s, there would be sometimes during the end of the show where we would bring people up on stage and allow them to actually freestyle with KRS. Sometimes it would be local artists from the neighborhood, and sometimes it would be artists that people know. This particular night, we were pulling up people from the crowd to freestyle, and who was in the audience? The Old Dirty Bastard. I used to see ODB all the time in New York City in the clubs, and he was always cool. We had a good relationship, so I was happy to see ODB was in the house unexpectedly. So there I was, cutting up some instrumentals for MCs to rhyme over, and it was time for ODB to grab the mic. So he grabs the mic, and instead of rapping, he starts singing. What is this? He starts singing, "Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Ooh, baby, I like it raw." And he's singing like that, real slow, and he was into it like he was Frank Sinatra. He did about a 2 or 3 minute rendition of this song, and I thought it was terrible. I'm cutting up the music and I'm watching him and I'm like, this guy has lost his mind. So after the show, we get back to the BDP dressing room and I immediately walk up to Chris and said, "Yo, did you see what ODB just did? That was terrible." Chris goes, "Nah, that style was dope. Did you see that stinging style? Ooh, baby, I like it raw. That style was dope." And Chris was all excited. I'm like, "You're bugging. That shit was whack. And you're whack, ODB is whack, everybody in this room is whack." It's basically what I was saying. Chris is going, "No, you're bugging. That shit was dope." So meanwhile, we started arguing for like 15 minutes over ODB. Fast forward to a year later, 1995, and the Old Dirty Bastard drops The Return to the 36 Chambers. Of course, music history will show that I was completely wrong. And KRS-One, being the good brother that he is, would not let me live that down for like a year. Now, my question is this for y'all out there. Although Shimmy Shimmy Ya was a huge hit and a classic record, actually one of the biggest records in the history of Wu-Tang, and probably ODB's signature song, still, was I completely off base to think that that song was whack as I heard it with him singing like Frank Sinatra a year later? If anybody out there thinks I had a valid point, please give me a +1. If you think I was 100% crazy, just say, take the L. Anyway, y'all, that's my story. If you like the story, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Shout out to the legendary Wu-Tang Clan icon, Old Dirty Bastard. Rest in peace. I miss you, brother. Until next time,